wrote, and I quote, "The future of India will probably depend ultimately more upon the women than men." These words of the first Prime Minister were prophetic. I am proud to say that I am the part of the Parliament under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, who has shown grit and determination and a unique foresight to turn it into a reality. Just before me, a couple of minutes ago, a senior member of Parliament was talking about doers and talkers. I would like to highlight that I would like to highlight that Prime Minister has shown by bringing this bill that he is a doer and not a talker. I come from the state of Haryana, which had for the longest time grappled with the issue of unequal sex ratio. The sex ratio in Haryana was 879 females for 1,000 males in 2001, but has shown steady improvement since 2015, when the Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Andolan from Haryana. Sir, I would like to inform the House that in 2022, the ratio has improved to 917. It has increased by 85 points. This shows the initiative backed by the state and the firm commitment by the government. Sir, in the first general elections, there were 66 women who contested and 19 were elected to the House of People. Even though we have made rapid strides in women representation in Parliament and local bodies down to the lowest level, much remains to be done, and thus I back this bill wholeheartedly. Lasting revolutions are not achieved overnight. They require a civil society awakening. This bill is taking us in that direction, sir. So, writing in the Harijan on the 21st of April 1946, Gandhiji emphasized the need to, and I quote, "enroll women as voters, impart or have imparted to them practical education, teach them to think independently, release them from the chains of caste that bind them so as to bring about change in them. If they will do this, they will purify the present unclean atmosphere." Sir, he prophetically said, as long as the women of India do not take part in public life, there can be no salvation for the country. Adoption of our constitution brought a new era of equity and equality for women in India. It guarantees equal political rights, including the right to vote to women. Not only does that constitution guarantee equal political status to women, there is even a scope for positive discrimination in their favor, as it is evident in Article 15(3) of the Constitution. Article 14 provides for equality before law. Article 39A states that the state shall direct its policy towards securing equity to men and women, the right to an adequate means of livelihood. And 39D enjoins the state to direct its policy towards securing equal pay for equal work for both men and women. Sir, Article 42 provides for securing just and humane conditions of work for maternity relief. And Article 51A(e) refers to the fundamental duty of citizens to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. Sir, in the words of B.R. Ambedkar, "I measure the progress of a community by the degree of progress which women have achieved." In 1975, the Committee on the Status of Women in India commented on the declining political representation of women in India. Though majority within the CWSI were against reservation in the legislative bodies, all members agreed on reservation for women in local bodies. The National Perspective Plan from 1988 to 2000 also recommended 30% reservation for women in all elected bodies, although the document was not clear whether the reservation was through nomination or election. The BJP government had repeatedly reinstated the bill in Parliament in 1998, 99, 2002 and 2003. The Congress, when it came to power in 2004, prompted the UPA to integrate the bill into the common minimum system and tried to introduce the bill with a little progress. It was opposed by its own partners who were a part of the government. Sir, a very senior member of Parliament before me said, that this decision has been taken by brain and not by heart. Sir, these decisions are taken by brain, heart and soul all put together. You need a will of steel to implement these decisions. And that is what is being done by the current government. Sir, in the last decade of the 20th century, the issue of political empowerment of women gained momentum throughout the world. In the 1990, the United Nations Economic and Social Council endorsed a target of 30% women in decision-making positions in the world by 1995. This target was far from being met in 1995. Only 10% of the world's parliamentarians were women. Back home, in the Rajya Sabha, we have 31 women MPs, whereas in the Lok Sabha, we have 82 women MPs. Among the state legislature, the average representation of women MLAs is about only 7%. Of the total 8,054 candidates in the 2019 general elections, only 726 were women. An interesting statistic presents itself here, sir. While almost 11% of the women contestants were successfully elected as MPs, only 6% of men could be successful. When it comes to trusting their future, voters trust women candidates more than they trust men. Not only do women make for winning candidates, but as candidates they spur greater economic growth. An academic paper by the United Nations University World Institute for Development Economics Research in 2015 studied the impact of women politicians on economic performance in the state legislative assemblies. The researchers examined data for 4,265 state assembly constituencies for the 1992 to 2012 period, using night luminosity as a measure of economic performance. The paper estimated women legislators raised luminosity growth in their constituencies by about 15 percentage points per annum more than that of male legislators. They were also found to be far more effective at completing road projects and hence creating infrastructure for growth. Sir, I got to hear some speeches from the honorable members of the Lok Sabha yesterday, where some mentioned why the government took so long to introduce the bill. Why wasn't it introduced earlier? Sir, it is important to understand. In 2014, the challenges before this government were many. Women had the right to vote, but no toilets, no gas connections, no access to equal opportunities, and very little representation. One of the most celebrated campaigns of the Honorable Prime Minister Modi and this government, the Swachh Bharat mission, was launched with the idea of building toilets. It was done with an effort to restore the dignity and privacy of women. Some people complained toilets have been built, but there was irregular supply of water, no water. I would like to say to them, be patient. Such a mammoth campaign are bound to come with some learnings and challenges. Today, most of them have regular water supply. Sir, I'm a positive person. I'm an optimist, not a pessimist. And I believe in the positivity and the power of change. Soon after people complained, women in rural India were still cooking food with cow dung cakes or wood, leading to health hazards. Today, almost all homes have gas connections. It is important to understand the change has not happened overnight. It requires assistance of society and change in the mindset. Sir, in the words of Victor Hugo, no one can stop an idea whose time has come. Sir, the idea of women's reservation has come, and no one can stop it. As the Honorable Prime Minister said, the country can't wait anymore. Sir, research has shown that when women are empowered, the entire nation is empowered. And women legislators are more. Sir, I will seek your indulgence to just complete my maiden speech, sir. Sir, I thought I would mention some of the top women leaders, scientists, engineers, businesswomen, social workers at the end of my speech. But I was writing their names and I got a feeling that being a successful female leader in the field cannot be their identity. For they have outgrown their genders. In a male-dominated world, they are not successful because they are women. They are successful despite of it. It is our narrow lens that we see them in gendered roles. It is our shortcoming that we see their gender first before we see their capabilities and their talent. It is the men who need to change their view and start treating them as equal colleagues. Sir, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister, who has been able to reorganize, bring on track this bill which had been derailed for the longest time. And in a time where the whole world is going through difficult times, whether it's climate change, hostile nations, income inequalities, only the healing and caring touch of a mother can save humanity from falling further down. Sir, discuss as much as we may, debate, fight, shout, do whatever. But the bottom line is that such a provision cannot wait any longer. It is our need. Sir, I would like to finish my speech with a few lines from the famous poet Dushyant Kumar. हो गई है पीर पर्वत सी, हो गई है पीर पर्वत सी, पिघलनी चाहिए, इस हिमालय से भी कोई गंगा निकलनी चाहिए. हो गई है पीर पर्वत सी, पिघलनी चाहिए, इस हिमालय से भी कोई गंगा निकलनी चाहिए. सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं, मेरी कोशिश है कि सूरत बदलनी चाहिए.
धन्यवाद.
Sir, I only want to say that let us come together and change the picture of the Indian polity. Let us unanimously support the bill. Otherwise, when history is written, people who are standing on the other side will not be judged kindly. Thank you so much, sir.
धन्यवाद माननीय कार्तिकेय शर्मा जी. माननीय श्रीमती कांता करदम जी. हाँ, माइक ऑन प्लीज.
जी माननीय महोदय, नारी शक्ति वंदन अधिनियम यानी महिला आरक्षण बिल ऐतिहासिक और क्रांतिकारी बिल है, जो हमारी सरकार हमारे दूरदर्शी और यशस्वी